in the jungles of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Cameroon in Africa. There lives a group of hidden man-made dinosaurs. The Mokele Mbembe, the living dinosaur. Mokele Mbembe, meaning in Lingala tongue, one who stops the flow of rivers, is a water-dwelling entity, sometimes described as a living creature, sometimes as a spirit.
The quest for Mokele Mbembe is part of the effort by creationists to overthrow the theory of evolution and teaching of science by any means possible. The only people looking for Mokele Mbembe are creationist ministers, not wildlife biologists.
Years ago, I received reports from two quite distinct sources of the existence of an immense and wholly unknown animal, said to inhabit the interior of Rhodesia. Almost identical stories reached me, firstly, through one of my own travelers, and secondly, through an English gentleman, who had been shooting big game in Central Africa. The reports were thus quite independent of each other, and as a matter of fact, the Englishman and my traveler had made their way into Rhodesia from opposite directions, the one from the northeast and the other from the southwest. The natives, it seemed, had told both my informants that in the depth of the great swamps there dwelt a huge monster, half elephant, half dragon. This, however, is not the only evidence for the existence of the animal. It is now several decades ago since Menges, who is, of course, perfectly reliable, heard a precisely similar story from the Negroes. And still more remarkable, on the walls of certain caverns in Central Africa, there are to be found actual drawings of this strange creature. From what I have heard of the animal, it seems to me that it can only be some kind of dinosaur, seemingly akin to the Brontosaurus. As the stories come from so many different sources, and all tend to substantiate each other, I am almost convinced that some such reptile must be still in existence.
According to German adventurer Lieutenant Paul Gratz's account from 1911, the crocodile is found only in very isolated specimens in Lake Bangweulu, except in the mouths of the large rivers at the north. In the swamp lives the Nsonga, much feared by the natives. A degenerate saurian which one might well confuse with the crocodile, were it not that its skin has no scales and its toes are armed with claws. I did not succeed in shooting an Nsonga, but on the island of Mbawala I came by some strips of its skin. Another report comes from German Captain Ludwig Freiherr von Stein zu Lausnitz. He heard stories of an enormous reptile called Mokele Mbembe, alleged to live in the jungles, and included a description in his official report. According to Ley, von Stein worded his report with utmost caution, knowing it might be seen as unbelievable. Nonetheless, von Stein thought the tales were credible. Trusted native guides had related the tales to him, and the stories were related to him by independent sources, yet featured many of the same details. Though von Stein's report was never formally published, Ley quoted von Stein as writing, "The animal is said to be of a brownish-gray color with a smooth skin. Its size is approximately that of an elephant, at least that of a hippopotamus. It is said to have a long and very flexible neck, and only one tooth, but a very long one. Some say it is a horn. A few spoke about a long, muscular tail like that of an alligator. Canoes coming near it are said to be doomed. The animal is said to attack the vessels at once and to kill the crews, but without eating the bodies. The creature is said to live in the caves that have been washed out by the river in the clay of its shores at sharp bends. It is said to climb the shores even at daytime in search of food. Its diet is said to be entirely vegetable. This feature disagrees with a possible explanation as a myth. The preferred plant was shown to me. It is a kind of liana with large white blossoms, with a milky sap and apple-like fruits. At the Sombo River I was shown a path said to have been made by this animal in order to get at its food. The path was fresh and there were plants of the described type nearby. But since there were too many tracks of elephants, hippos, and other large mammals, it was impossible to make out a particular spoor with any amount of certainty. Alfred Aloysius Smith, who had worked for a British trading company, In the late 1800s, briefly mentions in his 1927 memoir The Jago Nini, and Amali. And behind the Cameroon there's things living we know nothing about. I could have made books about many things. The Jago Nini they say is still in the swamps and rivers. Giant diver it means. Comes out of the water and devours people. Old men will tell you what their grandfathers saw but they still believe it's there. Same as the Amali have always taken it to be. I've seen the Amali's footprint. About the size of a good frying pan in circumference and 3 claws instead of 5. He also speculates that some great creature like the Amali could be responsible for finding broken and splintered ivory in, now known to be mythical, elephants' graveyards. In August and September of 2018, Lensgrave of Newthenborg, Adam Christopher Newt, along with a film crew from Doctor and DNA scientist, traveled to Lake Teli in Congo in search of the Mokele Mbembe. They did not find the dinosaur. However, they found a new green algae, which has not been discovered before. The legend of Mokele Mbembe. In the heart of Africa, in the Congo River Basin, it is said there lives a ferocious creature known to the local people as Mokele Mbembe. It is a huge beast, as big as an elephant, and even though it is an herbivore it will violently attack any man or animal that comes near. It is semi-aquatic, and dwells in Lake Teli and the largely unexplored swamp jungles that surround the lake. The hunt for Mokele Mbembe.
They draw an image in the dirt of what they've seen.
Look at that, Bill.
Just to draw with such incredible accuracy, the bulky body, between 3 and 5 claws, you have the head with the facial features of a python.
The locals have virtually no contact with the outside world.
And what's so amazing about this is these people have nothing whatsoever to gain from telling stories because we don't pay them. They get no reward from us for doing this.
To help clarify their descriptions, Bill Gibbons has brought along a set of pictures. These will help determine if they are able to tell the difference between an elephant and a dinosaur.
They live in the forest, so they can easily find the difference between Mokele Mbembe and another type of animal.
While Gibbons flips the pages, their guide translates. They don't know a bear or deer, but when Gibbons flips the pages to the drawing of a dinosaur, eyes open and fingers point.
This is Mokele Mbembe which they are. So this is how Mokele Mbembe look.
This technique is known to some in the scientific community as comparative observations.
Oh, like this?
Every time you talk about Mokele Mbembe to Bakas or to people who live around the river, they only describe it as animal with a long neck and a head like a snake.
This convinces Gibbons that the sightings are not a case of misidentification.
But we've come to the conclusion that this is definitely a different, unique animal in its own right.
This woman says she saw the animal while fishing with her husband.
The head was like a kind of snake, but it was very long, very long.
Dangjal Touré spotted a large animal coming out of the Ja River while out in a boat.
I saw this animal trying to eat some leaves. The only part of the animal we saw was the head and the neck.
She says her encounter lasted less than a minute, yet left her terrified.
The water was churning. The boat was shaking like an earthquake. Everything was shaking in the river. I felt very afraid.
Her sighting was of something she could not explain.
I've never seen another one since I've lived in the village.
I saw the Mokele Mbembe when I was very young.
Edimo Ferdinand was helping his father with fishing nets when he had a frightening first-hand encounter.
I was something like 150 meters away.
He watched in both fear and amazement.
The animal is like an elephant, but the neck is very long. It's a very big animal. When it comes out of the water, it makes a lot of movement on the river.
Not only the animal's size, but the sound that it made terrified the boy. For a few minutes, the animal fed on leaves, then went back into the water.
When this animal comes out of the water, you see something like a big splash.
Why would men hide these creatures there? The answer is, the jungles are dense and foreboding, and few outsiders have the courage or resources to venture very far into their depths. The people of Africa are really seeing these creatures. What they have seen, their descriptions do not match any other living creature. The fact that witnesses point to pictures of dinosaurs when asked what they had seen may be the most compelling bit information, despite the lack of physical evidence. So what do you think?